It is week 9. Pardon the disruption. Kyle Burt here with Frank Rogers. We're here at Common Desk in downtown Austin. What's going on, Frank?
Hey, good morning, Kyle.
Awesome. We got another 6 topics lined up for today, but also have some good announcements to make as well. Frank, why don't you start?
Yeah. So this particular episode and some of the episodes before us here have been brought to us by Nice and Contact. So they're the global leader in CX and contact center, and we're really happy to have them along and partnered with us. Also, we're here high atop the Littlefield building, downtown Austin, 6th and Congress, courtesy of Common Desk. And Common Desk is an amazing organization. I mean, they're right on that forefront of how people are working in the hybrid workspace. And couldn't be more happy to have our studios planted right here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're also sponsored by Restream.io, platform that enables us to restream to multiple places at once to allow us to be simulcast on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. And also using the technology behind this is also Switcher Studio, another platform that we're using to broadcast this on completely on iOS devices. It's really game-changing. It's really game-changing for us as well.
It is. It is, absolutely. It lights up our studio. So let's get started.
Let's do it. Go for it.
Topic number 1, Square opens bank arm. Wow, that's amazing. So this is all part of fintech. You know, disruption at its very core. This is what's happening in terms of like changing the experience. Here we have a company that really started as a point of sale, right? Mm-hmm. Creating ease of use, SMB, allowing people to take transactions down and to do that remotely. It's about a mobility play, a CX play, ease of use, all of those types of things, personalization. And here we have them, you know, taking down that particular point of like owning a customer relationship at the transaction. And here they're bridging this into the fintech revolution. So now they're becoming a bank. Right? So they're providing depository, cash management, everything else that you would normally see. And you can only imagine that this is going to continue. And again, like this is something where we look at fintech as being somewhat representative of digital transformation. Truly, you see it in InsurTech, you see it across the board. FinServe is a really good example. And it's kind of like a precursor. Like if you're watching what's happening there, you're going to see things changing in other industries and other verticals not far behind. So this is powerful. This is the brick and mortar, click and mortar example. Here you have a group of brick and mortar companies that during the pandemic had some contraction and across industries, and the click and mortar organizations moved forward. And this is just another example of them now moving into the brick and mortar world.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's very interesting to me because we've seen this card, we've seen this trick before, we've seen this play out. You know, Venmo opens a bank account. Robinhood has a bank account now. Like all these apps, like everyone has a bank arm now. It seems like that seems to be like the trendy thing to do. And I just wonder, you know, as somebody who I've banked with some of these smaller internet banks, they just closed the doors on me. So I've seen both the positive and the negative. I've seen the downside of some of these things as well. I just wonder, you know, obviously it's a huge marketplace, right? It's a huge marketplace. They're vying for customers who are, you know, customers of big banks, right? The JP Morgan Chases, the Bank of Americas, the Wells Fargo. And it's no secret, even the people that work at these banks know it's no secret that, you know, the bigger you are, the harder it is to provide that personalized, timely, relevant, memorable experience, right? That CX. And that's just where some of the big banks are struggling. From my opinion, right? From my opinion, that's where they are struggling to keep up. And that's why this market is existing. And that's why this market opportunity has never been greater for some of these fintech companies.
Absolutely. And if you think about those large companies, all the ones that you just mentioned, they have like years and years of policy and procedure and construct and risk management that flies in the face of a frictionless experience.
Oh, yeah. And that's what it's all about, removing that friction, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So on this episode, we did things a little bit different. So Frank picked 3 articles. I picked 3 articles. So here's mine in the pink here. So Microsoft versus Salesforce, back in the news again here. I want to read this to you, something interesting. So this was Microsoft had their Ignite conference just recently in the past week here, and so there's a lot of Microsoft news culminating right now, like brewing out there.
It's percolating.
Microsoft has made some moves. So in that, there was a quote that I read here as it relates to Microsoft versus Salesforce, and it's essentially saying that I think Salesforce had to acquire Slack to be able to have the collaboration that we, Microsoft, are so years ahead of what they're going to be able to provide, because they will not have these native integrations. So they actually see Salesforce acquisition of Slack as a response to what Microsoft has been doing with Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Teams. So they're not holding back. They're taking big shots at Salesforce, saying, of course you guys would buy Slack. That's a response to the progress that we've made here at Microsoft. Frank, thoughts?
Well, I mean, I hearken back to this is not the first time that Microsoft has done this. So this is like kind of like the British invasion 2.0, right? Like they've come back. So Microsoft is coming back, and they're really trying to drive, that full integration picture at the enterprise. There's good and bad to it. So like I can understand why people are attracted to it, around some of the licensing, and why people kind of work around it. But, nevertheless, you find yourself sometimes with some of these deep integrations being, so deeply integrated that you really can't move. There's the context of vendor lock, comes into play. And, we moved into an environment of having, web services, having services on the web that provide for integration opportunities between applications. And so now you're really talking about a really deep proprietary play. And I think that Salesforce, they're going to be competing against Microsoft, and Microsoft has things like the accounting stack in there as well, which are unique. Salesforce doesn't, but they will. So both of them are moving kind of towards ERP, productivity ERP.
Yeah.
Good,
So,
bad, or indifferent. Like I say, I'm not 100% like sold on all these things. I like to see the microservices, and I like to see the integration and the flexibility and the choice that comes to the customer.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree, and it's clear that the gloves are off. Like Microsoft is gunning for Salesforce, and
bare knuckle.
And if that is correct, if Salesforce really is recognizing that, and that's why they bought Slack, if that opinion is actually a fact, then kudos to Salesforce for stepping it up, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah,
Neither opponent is afraid of each other. They're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, topic number 3. How to make social media one of your best customer service channels. So this is really like it sounds like a very innocuous title, but it is more appropriate now than ever before. It's been something that's been percolating in terms of use of social as customer service over the last several years, but the pandemic really brought it to light. Kyle, get this: 80% of customers expect better customer service. That's just a flat out, response to the pandemic. So during the pandemic, people became acutely aware of the need to have customer experience. They expect it from their brand. 72% of people increased their use of social media during the pandemic. So people who were like, kind of sandbagging on Facebook, all of a sudden, became like ardent users, and whatever they were putting out there, they started being more engaged, and as a result, they started getting more targeted, right? By people doing Facebook ads and everything else. So you hear about this all the time. Goal number 1, brand delight. I can tell you right now that this is more than just having an intern sitting down and looking at your social media and doing some posts. This is about connecting your technology, right? Your customer service technology, doing social listening, having the ligature in there for you to be able to see direct attribution between people actually connecting with you on social media and how that works in the customer journey. If you're not doing that, I think you are going to be developing enormous blind spots. Two case in points. One case in point for me, personal, IKEA. I'm going to call it out. Awful experience during the pandemic. Ordered some items. They came short shipped. I tried to reach out to them. They basically shut down their voice channels. Try to get a hold of them on the other channels that they had in terms of for customer support. Boom, zero response. Went to social media, called them out on social media, found out I was one of thousands, a growing throng of people dissatisfied, people not getting responded to. I got a response. I thought like, okay, I did it. I said the magic words. I replied back in the prescriptive method they gave me. No response. I had to go out and buy those items to complete out my order to build out what I needed to build out. Worst customer experience, no brand delight, probably not a lot of brand follow-up.
Wow. I mean, I think those stories are, there's a ton of them. There's a bunch of them. And to be sitting here in 2021 talking about making social media one of your best customer service channels, to me, like my initial knee-jerk response is, duh. Did we just figure this out?
Yeah.
Is this we just woke up to the fact that, hey, guess what? Social media is a thing. Like this is how we communicate now. So it's not about, do we need to be social? Of course you do. The social media, they're just channels, right?
Right.
And every single one of your customers communicates in a different way. And it's just all about that reach. How can you reach out to that customer to provide that experience for them, no matter where they are, no matter where they choose to be?
Yeah, and you hit it right in the head. Like it's one channel of many channels. You got to be on all the channels listening.
Yes, you got to be everywhere.
Responding.
You got to be everyone responding. Yep. So up next, another Microsoft story here. This one was really interesting to me as well. So talking about Microsoft Azure, talk about the cloud place, the cloud space, the public cloud offerings. And, Azure is right there. They're one of the big threes, of course. And so they've come out with this thing, Azure Percept. They're bringing a new hardware and software platform, AI to the edge, AI voice and AI vision. So they're really focusing on artificial intelligence, machine learning in a way that is taking us to that next level. We see a lot happening with voice right now. Mm-hmm. Podcasting is through the roof right now. Spotify is about to overtake Apple this year in terms of podcast listeners. You got Clubhouse on the rise. Shout out to Clubhouse. We're right here. There's some new apps out there. Cappuccino. Voice is like it's taken over.
Voice is back.
Voice is back again. It's taken over. So Microsoft is recognizing that. So, when a company like Microsoft starts to recognize that and you see them making huge investments, like this is not a drop in the hat. This is a pretty big investment for them to divest into bringing AI to the edge, specifically these hardware and software kits that they're sending out to developers to help them develop future AI technology for vision and voice. So camera technology to basically recognize objects and recognize things, and voice technology, again, to interact with us the way that we need to.
Yeah, this is a little bit of they're taking a little bit from Apple's playbook, right, where it's a hardware and software play. Mm-hmm. We saw Microsoft for the most part like really retreat back and stay in their strength, which is software. But now you see them reaching out, like with Azure now, like bringing this here to the context of a hardware and software combination set of SDKs, and like they're really like the proprietary nature of this is really something else. They're basically saying, if you want to use this software and you want to use this software at its zenith, you're going to use it on our hardware.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So I think what it's going to do is it's going to spawn more competition. It's easily what it's going to do. You're going to see this happen with GCP. You're going to see this happen, with AWS. We already see it happening with AWS. So this is kind of like, I think this is everybody kind of moving that direction to get people to come into their cloud platform and stay in that cloud platform because they get really sticky with the technology. They get vested into that technology, and there you go.
Yeah, I think what it also says to me is that we are. It feels like it was only yesterday we were talking about, the future of AI and 5G and like all these talking about them in like a hype cycle. It's just like this thing that's far out there.
That's right.
But, AI is very much like, it's a technology that is very relevant today that we're all using.
It's now.
Every single one of us is using it right now. Like it's happening now. Yeah. And Microsoft making these strategic moves right now is a testament to that, I believe.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, good point. So topic number 5, the future of security lies in machine identity management. And Kyle, I know this is like one part here where, you've got a deep level of experience in infrastructure and things of that nature. And I, this would probably be something I would expect you to kind of pull to the table. But what caught my eye about this, and where I think this is like a huge topic, not even like it's a very innocuous. Again, the future of security lies in machine identity management. Doesn't mean that much. Doesn't sound that much. But think about how much identity management means to us. If you're looking at software, and you're looking at marketing, and you're looking at attribution, the ability to identify a prospect or a customer and following them through their customer journey and deliver to them personalized information is paramount. Like if you can't do that, you are losing in that process of understanding your customer and meeting them with the right products and services when they need them. Well, here we have the same thing, but for machines. Now machines need to have identity management. It's humans and machines, two parties. And so the machines have to be locked down in a certain way where they're uniquely identified. Right now you have certificates and things of that nature. People loosely are buying those things and they're using that to create that secure socket layer and everything else. But this goes way ahead of that. It's now the machine, we'll call the machine Fred. Fred now has an identity out there on a network, and now that is being matched in terms of permissions and access between other machines. It's locking that down, and you can see where this is going into things like blockchain, ledgers of people, ledgers of machines. This is in direct response to even some of the things we saw recently with SolarWinds, where you saw basically that threat be disseminated and federated down to the device level and what that created. And my final point on this is this. We talk awful lot on digital experience. We talk an awful lot about customer experience. The worst customer experience you can have, just don't be available.
Right. Yeah.
Like, don't be there. You can do all the cool things UX wise to make it frictionless and personal and everything else. Just go away for a certain amount of time and create that problem. So I think that this machine identity management is very Orwellian, but very appropriate now.
Let's think about this, right? So you talk about prior to this, identity management is still a big thing in corporations. You've got to identify your employees in the workforce. But you look at machine identity. How many devices does each person have? Study I just looked up just now. There's about 4 devices per person, and that's projected to be 9 devices per person by 2025. So I already have more than 4 devices in front of me at the moment.
Right.
So
on your person,
on my person right now, not even counting in the household. In the household, there's probably 15 to 20 devices in each household. So if you multiply that by the U.S. population alone, the global population, as the rest of the world is playing catch up on the device grab play, then we have a huge problem on our hands, right? From a cybersecurity standpoint, we have all these devices out there, and we don't know what's what.
That's right. And so this is gonna. I feel like identity management, humans, machines, it's gonna go down to web services and algorithms. We're going to get down to identity in a very, very micro way.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And then last up here, the hybrid workplace is making headlines again. I expect this to be something that this is going to be the new normal. This is the thing that marketers and all of us just beat down into submission this year. But essentially the hybrid workplace, right? Talking about new opportunities for collaboration. This article in particular was breaking down various elements of the work from home and the hybridity of being able to work from home for these days and come to the office on certain days. Number one, it's proven out, right? Work from home works for business. Like it or not, employee productivity was up through the roof. Now, family time was probably suffered a little bit because people have been working 24/7. Now there's this 24/7 counterculture of you're available 24/7 now, so you better be working. It's not about just sitting in your desk at your cubicle 9 to 5 and that's your work hours. Now it's, hey, we know you're online, we can see you online. What are you doing?
But now kids know how to do a cash flow projection, which is good.
Yes, exactly. So. These themes are going to be continuing throughout the year of, how do we adjust productivity expectations? How do we reverse this? How do we make a correction here to have better expectations against productivity? Like that's a tough question.
It is a tough question. And, I think last year, a lot of people felt that they solved this problem. They got people at home, they got them working, got it settled, got down with business. But the hybrid workplace is something that is still very unsettled. People are in the process of figuring this out. What is the right dosage of space per person for the amount of people in there? Who needs to be coming in? When do they need to be coming in? For what purpose? Like, these questions are now being asked where they didn't before. Like, I have 100 people. I need an office for 100 people. There you go. Now it's like, why do you need to be there? That's a question that wasn't necessarily asked. And then what are you going to do when you're there? So how do you optimize? So it's not just the technology that you're using. It's the impact upon culture. It's the impact upon like workload and how you distribute and manage that workload and how you collaborate. It's a new problem to solve, and I think it's a good problem to solve. So you're right. We're going to be talking about this more and more throughout the year. Yeah,
without a doubt, we will be. So that's the show, guys. This is Pardon the Disruption Week 9.
There's this Buddhist mindset that says, first there's intention, and then there's action, and then there is discernment. It's a circular thing.